Hello and welcome to 110 Motorsports Productions. In the past couple of weeks, we've been in the market for a couple of sheet metal brakes to do bodies on our race cars, and we've done quite a bit of research. We've made some trips. We've ended up with two so far. We originally wanted a 16 gauge, and the closest one we found was an 18 gauge. We got it, and it's a great little brake, but I wanted to end up with a 16 gauge in case I wanted to do some other up to 16 gauge metal to do other projects instead of just sheet metal for race cars. So what we ended up with is in the research and talking to different people and looking at different brakes. This brake is pretty much the standard of, we got lucky and got a really good one. It's got a nice edge, which I think they call a nose. These noses, and I'll bring it in here shortly to give you some close-ups, but these noses, from what we understand, over the years of use, when people try to bend, they abuse them. They try to bend too thick of metal, or they'll put like round pipe or square tube stock in there to try to bend it, and it basically puts too much concentration on these noses. From what we understand, if you try to bend something that's too stiff, what will happen is it will cause the blade to push up in the middle. And you'll notice it too with your metal bending if you're trying to do it yourself. The metal will kind of be bent really nice. Like if you're doing a 90, it'll be like a 90-degree square on this end. But when it gets like in the middle, it will still be bowed out a little bit. So when you set it on the floor, it'll teeter or it won't stand up. Like when you bend a 90, if you give it enough, it won't stand up straight. Or you'll have a little, when you do that, you'll have like one end off the floor or one of the edges off the floor or something like that. This brake we just got, we were told it was in great condition. The serial number, it was built in 1947. When we got there, the brake, it took us quite a bit of the time because the seller told us that the edge, again, some people call it the angle, some people call it the nose. I think the nose is what Chicago Drives Chrome calls it. When we look down the edge of the blade, the first thing we could see is right here, you can feel it's wavy, and we'll try to take the camera off here and show this to you. If you can see that, you can see there's it's like wavy, and there's like little nicks, and it's up and down right there. And what it looks like is over the years that a right-handed person has bent all their metal on the side, and that right there looks like they probably tried to bend round tube or something they shouldn't have tried to be doing in this brake. And then otherwise, when you get from here on down, it's pretty much straight. The other thing to notice too is if you come here and look at this side, if you look right here, this goes and there's no lip between, this is the angle, this is the edge, the angle that bends the metal, and what it bolts onto to the back plate here. There's no really gap. It's just a small little, not a gap, but you can feel a small little edge. But when you get right here, it's more noticeable. And what's happened is they've over-bending on this side, bending tube, whatever, bending a little bit, something that's a little bit too thick. What I think it's done is it's wallowed out these little screws right here, these little bolts, and it's pushed this edge back just a little bit. And you can notice it. When we take our camera and we go down here to the other end, you can see it's still nice, and it makes a nice, more flat edge to there. And if you come over here to the side, you can see it. So we think this side hasn't been used, and it's pretty good all the way until you get down to about right here, which is the last 8 to 10 inches of the brake. Now, the good thing about these brakes are they do have adjustments. So what we did is, I can't remember which adjustment it was, but we took, I think it was this one, and we adjusted it in this way. So it moved this side of the brake in. And for right now, we've just done half the side of our dirt car, and it's been perfect. So it still does work. One of the other things that we've had with this one is we noticed this bar, it was bent, and this bar, I think this is used for like a stop. So if you want to bend, if you got a bunch of bends that you want to do and you want them the same every time, you go ahead and adjust. You pull your handle up and you get your bend, and you get somebody to run this up and down, and then that way you set it right here and it'll hit right here, and then it'll give you the same bend on the metal every time. What we noticed was this one, it was really hard to get going, and what was happening is with this being bent, it was binding up. Got in a bind. So by hand, we did the best we could and got it bent, and that helped it out a lot. If you're buying one, I would make sure like all these bolts, like even though these is kind of got a lot of surface rust to it, we put wrenches on these and turned them, and they all turn really easy. So that was a good thing. So we went ahead and got it. I want to go back to this edge, which again I think they call it the nose. So I'm going to call it the nose from now on. Maybe it's wrong, and we'll readjust. But when you're looking at this is a model 816. The 8 stands for an 8 foot. The 16 means it'll be in 16 gauge mild steel. And on that note, mild steel, if it will be an if it's 16 gauge mild steel, it usually will be in 14 gauge aluminum, and then it'll be in 20 gauge stainless. So it's 2 gauge thicker from mild steel to aluminum and 4 gauge thinner from mild steel to stainless is a rule of thumb that's on their website and from what I've researched and come up with. But anyway, this edge, if you get to somewhere or you're talking to somebody and they say the edge is warped if the edge is kind of bent up or nicked or anything like that, then just go ahead for the 8x16. It was $525 from Dries Crump shipped. That's directly for M&M. It's probably the nose itself is probably about a 2-inch by a 1/4 inch. It's 2 inches deep, probably about a 1/4 inch thick, and with about a 20 degrees angle on the nose. So if you got a machine shop or somebody that's set up to make it, maybe they can do it cheaper than $525. But just know that going in that you may have to spend that amount and adjust accordingly. And also, not just the $525, you're going to have to most likely take this top piece off here. And it's different on the 18 gauges versus 16 gauge. But it's going to be quite a bit of work. And this is it's really heavy and it's kind of hard to handle. So you're going to have a gantry, a forklift or something to lift it up. And if you don't have multiple things, you're probably going to have to get somebody to help you balance it while you're working on it. And there's 34 bolts in all that bolt this nose onto this top piece. And they're flathead and it come up from the bottom. And it looks like the way they got the exposed up here, that water or whatever can get down in there, and those bolts could be rusted. So if you have to drill those out or you have problems with those, I'm going to say you're probably going to spend the better part of a day, if not more, just changing the blade out. So account for that, adjust that in your price, or get them to fix it for you if they're going to try to tell you it's not a big deal. I would have them do it for me. The other things is outside the blade. I've heard that you can get these top pieces damaged where they bow up. I haven't seen that. I don't know what that looks like, so I can't really show you that to you. Chicago, I'm almost positive. It's got the Chicago name right here, Dries Crump, and I think it says Chicago right there. And the tag's off of it, but from the looks of it, it looks to be an 818. So to my knowledge, it'll be an 18 gauge mild steel, probably 16 gauge aluminum, and it will be in probably 22 gauge stainless steel. Now we have put the 040 aluminum body panels in that you do the dirt track cars with, and it works with them just great. It's a lot lighter, easier to use. This one pulls up. I mean, it's one finger. When there's nothing in there, it's balanced. It's a little squeaky, so something needs a little bit of oil. On our 16 gauge here, it's more of a, I mean, it takes some effort. It's not as, it works good, but it's just a little bit more effort. So take that, if all you're ever gonna do is 040 aluminum gauge, this is all you'll ever need. The good thing about buying one of these too, because they do make some race body sheet metal brakes, but from pretty much what I see of those, they're about to do 18 gauge, is what you're gonna need to do the 040 aluminum. They're about 1970 is the cheapest I've seen an 8 foot, and they're pretty much going to be a throwaway. You're going to spend about $2,000 for those, probably a little over $2,000 including tax. And when you're finished with them, probably you're going to get about half used. I mean, you're going to get about, I would say probably $1,000, $1,100 if you're lucky. Now the new Chicagos and all these, you're going to lose money on those as well. But for me, it just made more sense to get something a little bit more heavy duty and put wheels on it. This one probably weighs about 1,400 pounds, but I went to Northern Tool, and I'm not sure if you can see the little red wheels right here. I put 2 solid straight cast, Okay, I want to get to the 18 gauge brake I have. From everything I can tell, I'm almost positive this is a Chicago's driest crump. You can see kind of the name there. It's been painted over. It's kind of hard to make out, but you can kind of feel it. Um, and it's not as heavy duty as the 16 gauge. I think this is about the, it's a step under it. So I think it's an 818. The good part about this is it's so easy to use. I mean, this one with nothing in there, you pull it up with one finger. This one, I mean, the 16 gauge, I mean, it takes some effort. So, I mean, you're gonna need it if you need to do something heavier than 18 gauge steel or 16 gauge aluminum. But if you're not, I wish I could keep both of them, but I just don't have the space, and it just doesn't make sense to keep both of them. And this one, I'll go ahead and get the camera off in just a second. I'll go down through here. I'll show you the edge on this one. We'll go all the way down through it. You can see that the edge is really nice and straight. There's no nicks on it. It doesn't look like it's been abused. Down through here, we've got it locked down. You can see there's a nice, if you can see down through there, there's a nice straight edge all the way down. There's no gap. We'll come down this way as well. You can see there's not any gap. It looks like it could be. This side needs to be adjusted out this way about a 1/16, maybe to 1/8 of an inch. But that's normal. It's just adjustments. Somebody's gotten it off or whatever. But you can see in the middle. I mean, there's nothing bowed out. And again, this is going back here and comparing to this one right here, to where you've had somebody that's been a round tube or something like that, and they've just used this side a lot, and you can see how the blades push back. I'm not sure what the nose would cost on one like these, so I can't tell you what to look for if you're purchasing one of those, but this one obviously won't need it. We'll go ahead and raise it up. And now again, you can see through there. I mean, you can see it's nice. We've got one side up a little bit higher than the other one, but that's okay. You can see it's a really nice edge on that one. And again, just the way this one works is just so nice. I mean, it's just a really nice, smooth piece. And it's already been sanded down and painted. When you're looking at these, what I noticed too, people get lazy. If you look up under this one, you can see they don't really mess with. I don't know if you can see because of the light, but you can just see there's not much under there. It's just kind of dirty. And this one too, whoever painted this one didn't really do it under there. It's not as bad, but they kind of they could have done a better job on it. But it doesn't affect the machine, and it's still a nice working machine. So if you're like me, your original thoughts to buy this is to build bodies for your race car. You're going to be building an 040 aluminum, and you're going to start looking around, and you're probably going to find like the race sheet metal brakes. You can find them, but they're an 8-foot that do 18 gauge that will bend the aluminum is probably about $970. My thoughts are they're probably a throwaway, because I just don't know how they'll stand up. They're not built anywhere near these things. These things are built like tanks. They're heavy duty. This one's made in 1947. I'm going to say this one's probably not that far behind it. It's probably in that time range as well. So, imagine something that's lasted that long and still functions just like the day it did new. Those are if you can sell them, you're probably going to get $900 to $1,000 out of them. If you find one of these used, they're probably $3,800 new. $2,000 is what I'm going to get for this. They fluctuate depending on the market and economy and time of year and all that good stuff. But $2,000 right now, I've seen them. These are listed for $3,000, but people come down off them pretty quick if you call them and start making them an offer. 2 is where I'm at on this. I mean, you may can shop around and find somebody needing money for $1,800 or $1,900, or you may find something that needs a little work on it. We got a little bit less than this one, but I wouldn't take. After you look through the conditions, I probably wouldn't even take less than $2,000 for it. It's that good of a brake for 16 gauge. But go ahead and get one of these if you buy it, and all you want to do is use aluminum. The 18 gauge is perfect, I think, and you can use it, and when you go to sell it, you're going to get your money back. So it was a no-brainer for me. I didn't want to buy a new one that would only do aluminum and lose $1,000 if I wanted to trade it or get something else or sell it. And this one, I know I'll get my money back, or even possibly make money if it goes up in price, as things tend to do. about covers anything. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll do my best to answer them. But again, I'm not an expert, and I'm not trying to tell you. I'm just sharing what we found in researching and coming up with the brakes. And both of these work great. This one works really good. This one's got a little issue on this side, but you can't really tell it in the aluminum. And we've actually been 14 gauge stainless in this, which was amazing that it been it. I wouldn't recommend doing it because I wouldn't want to damage it. And other than that, I hope you enjoyed. Again, if you have any questions, let us know. And thanks for watching.